Now, I'm no stranger to mistakes. We all have our rules, and I've learned mine the hard way. One rule I never thought I'd break was walking down Main Street alone at night. I knew better. But sometimes we get a little too comfortable. We convince ourselves that the past can't follow us forever. That was my mistake that night. It was a Saturday. I'd gone to Henry's Tavern. Small, quiet place. Good for a drink or two. Didn't plan to stay long, but one drink turned into a few, and before I knew it, the night had crept up on me. Last call came around, and I found myself staring at the door, feeling that familiar dread settle in. Just stick to the back streets, I told myself. But when I stepped outside, Main Street was right there, and somehow it looked different. Almost inviting. I told myself it was fine. I'd walked these streets hundreds of times, and the shadows, well, they'd been quiet for a while. So against my better judgment, I started down Main Street, thinking I'd just take the quick way home. I'd barely made it half a block when I felt it. That familiar chill. The air grew heavy, thick, like something was pressing down on me. And then I heard it. A faint, dragging sound. At first I thought it was just my boots scraping along the sidewalk, but it didn't take long to realize. It wasn't me. I stopped dead in my tracks, hoping maybe it was just some stray animal or the wind playing tricks. But as I stood there listening, the sound got louder, clearer, almost purposeful. And that's when I saw it. Down at the far end of the street, something was moving, dragging itself out from the shadows. I squinted, trying to make out what it was, but the shape, it wasn't right. Too tall, too thin, like a stretched-out silhouette. I tried to shake it off, told myself to keep walking, ignore it. But every step I took, it took one too, dragging itself closer, slow and deliberate. I could hear the scrape of it against the concrete, this awful, grating sound that set my teeth on edge. And then, as if sensing my fear, it stopped and lifted its head. I don't know how long I stood there, frozen, just staring back at it. Those eyes, they weren't empty, not exactly. They were filled with something I can only describe as hunger, a cold, relentless need. And then, as if it could read my thoughts, it started moving again, faster this time. The dragging sound grew louder, more frantic, like it knew it had me. I told myself not to look back, just keep walking, maybe even start running if I had to. But the sound, it was getting closer, faster. The dragging had turned into a scuffle, like it was stumbling, tripping over itself, desperate to reach me. And that's when I made the mistake. I looked over my shoulder. There it was, right behind me, close enough that I could see the details now. Thin, clawed hands, skin stretched tight over bones, and that face, twisted and distorted, like someone frozen in terror. I took off running, bolting down the street, my footsteps loud and wild against the pavement. But no matter how fast I ran, that sound, that terrible dragging, scraping sound, it stayed right behind me. I ducked into an alley, hoping it'd lose me in the dark, but the sound stopped too. The street went quiet, eerily so, like the whole town was holding its breath. I pressed myself against the wall, barely daring to breathe, listening for any sign of it. And then I heard it, just a faint whisper, close enough that I could feel the chill of it on my neck. That voice, it was hers, Mrs. Langston, soft, hollow, like it was seeping right through the wall beside me. "Walter, you know you can't run." I shut my eyes, willing it to go away, willing myself to wake up, but it was there, lingering, that cold breath chilling me to the bone. I stayed in that alley until the first hint of dawn, didn't dare to move until I was sure it was gone. And even then, I could still feel those eyes watching, waiting. I broke my rule that night, thinking maybe the shadows had forgotten me, but they were there all along, biding their time. I don't walk Main Street anymore, not even in daylight, because some things don't ever really let go.